people didn't seem to like Strays for being raunchy, gross, or inappropriate, which I ask why people who don't like those kinds of comedies would watch this, since this doesn't work without being those things. Still, I did remember why. Sometimes people have to watch things they don't like. It's their job to see this movie. As for me, it's a hobby. And I watch what I want, which I was really curious to see how people react to this movie, since I think I like the premise from the trailers more than others. I'm probably the right audience for it, since I am part of the generation that grew up with the Air Bud movies. I mean, I'm sure there are people who know me were like, oh yeah, in elementary school, they played these movies a lot. Or, you know, your parents got you the DVDs because you didn't know what quality was. Damn, you didn't watch Citizen Kane when you're 5 years old, you watched this? Look, when I was... Okay, well, I'm not that anymore. I mean, actually should be pretty obvious. I mean, I'm in college now, so at least I'm glad someone thought of it, because honestly, I kind of wish I did. It's written by Dan Perrault and directed by Josh Greenbaum, and the movie is a comedy where dogs do stuff in an R-rated comedy, which could have gone wrong in all the ways I could imagine, but luckily I actually really liked it. It might even be one of my favorite comedies of the year. I might even have liked it more than Barbie. Okay, Barbie's a better movie, but I mean, like, it's a more consistent comedy in my opinion. With that being said, the premise is that Reggie, voiced by Will Ferrell, has lived with his abusive and deadbeat loser owner Doug, played by Will Forte, his whole life, as Doug is the kind of person who lives the life of someone who has only himself to blame for why it's in the toilet and won't admit it's his own fault, taking some of his anger out on Reggie, who thinks Doug actually loves him, when really he hates him. And after trying to get rid of him several times, you know, not actually take him to the pound or an adoption agency, no, just try to throw him somewhere in the woods and hopefully won't find his way back. He abandons him in the big city while Doug just thinks at first it's the same game of him finding his way back home to his loving owner. He gets a wake-up call to what Doug really thinks of him. Reggie meets another stray dog named Bug, voiced by Jamie Foxx, who shows him being a stray is better than this, and introduces him to his friends Maggie, voiced by Isla Fisher, and Hunter, voiced by Randall Park, who struggles with their own problems at home, but the four become quick friends, and with his epiphany, Reggie decides to find his way back home to get revenge on his owner by buying his dick off and to force it out on a journey where they get drunk, do drugs, and more. It's a talking animal movie where this time, instead of being for kids, they swear and pee all the time. Which, if they did advertise this like a kids movie, they would have made more money that way. Like, when people who didn't know any better brought kids to see Sausage Party, since they made it clear from the marketing, this is what it's about. It's about, hey, it's a talking dog movie, but this time it's rated R. And, you know, it's not shy of it, but I think it could have. And, you know, it would have been for the better of, you know, tricking people who are ignorant. You know. What I'm saying is, I think this movie works for what it is, and, you know, it may be gross, but just because it is that doesn't mean it can't work. I mean, it worked for me. The dogs are naive to how things work, and in terms of the story, it makes sense why they do the things they do. Like, Bugs tells Reggie peeing on something marks their territory, so they signify their relationship by peeing on each other. They take mushrooms in the forest while the trailer shows their hallucination. When it's revealed what they did while during the hallucination, God, did it kill me. I'm not into dark comedy, but boy, did this work for me. Honestly, at first, the movie gave me slight chuckles, but it got funnier and funnier as it went along. There are cameos from certain actors that have been in these types of movies before, and it works super well for this movie, which I won't spoil. And while some jokes didn't work, like this one scene where several dogs had to, well, poop at the same time, it was just disgusting. Like, I never thought comparing how more disgusting poop is to pee. Like, that was never on my mind until I saw it. But, you know, what makes this movie work, though, is the story. The story is actually really solid, where the forced friendship feels real, like they actually seem to like each other, even when they make fun of each other, with each character having something of their own to want, and not just there to support Reggie, whose arc is really compelling about finally getting his revenge when he has doubts about, you know, how Bug views humans, where there is a scene I wish was better foreshadowed, but I knew Bug's backstory the moment this character, you know, explain, like, you know, how he doesn't like humans, and, you know, he thinks humans are the worst, and it's like, I wonder if it's going to be the backstory I, you know, seen about, let's see, there was that one movie last year, oh, right, DC League of Super Pets, and their examples. What else? Oh, yeah, where was I? But despite that, the rest of the story really works well. I mean, the set jokes and pee jokes might not be for everyone, but for me, I did laugh, and what I'm shocked no one else is talking about is the lip movement on the animals. Like, it actually looks real, like, it looks really good. Like, seriously, am I the one who's, like, impressed with, like, the lip syncing, and, like, it's very impressive how in sync it is to the actors, who I think having celebrity voices take away any chance of it being uncanny for anyone. You know, you don't want that uncanny valley of, like, looking too real. You're like, oh, God, this is creepy. It's like, no, it's done naturally, and it feels authentic to Well, I would say the story, but I mean, I don't know, I guess sensibility. But all the actors in their roles do a really good job. They are all surprisingly really good given this, kind of role being, voicing a dog. But speaking of the only actor I think could have been replaced, I think that should have been Will Forte, who's good, but I think this type of role would work better for Jake Johnson or Jeff Garlin since it felt more like an actor playing a bad guy than a real bad guy on screen. Yeah, I mean, it's not that he's bad, it's just like, I mean, I guess maybe in some way it's done so it's not like I'm just watching, like, this guy I really hate. But, I guess it's like if I really hate this guy, it'd make it all the more satisfying. Instead, it's just like I'm watching Will Forte in her character rather than watching, just a terrible person. With that being said, this is a short but effective comedy that wastes no time. Like, honestly, there was a part in the story I was like, oh, God, please tell me we don't have to see the same things again. And it's like, no, they're still under track, like they lost no time. And it was an important scene that I wouldn't cut out. I mean, the movie has real heart and good jokes that make this one of my favorite comedies of the year, and honestly, maybe one of the most rewatchable movies of the year for me personally. Like, it is short, but it gets to the point and never feels like it's wasting its time. And, I get why others wouldn't like it, and it's not a great movie, it is flawed, but I think it's simple, good comedy, and it does its job well enough for, like, what it's supposed to be. Like, I can't be mad at it for, like, failing at what it is. If you don't like it for what it is, that's fine, but if you're mad for what it is and don't think it's doing a good job at it, that's just your opinion, because for me, what it does great. Strays is a hilarious comedy, and honestly, one of the more enjoyable movies of the year that came as a surprise for me. And people who are into these kinds of movies can smile along. I give Strays a 7 out of 10.